the reveal with trailers and gameplay of Spider-Man: The Great Web, which would have been Insomniac's next game, bridging, between like I guess it was supposed to come out between Venom and Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 2. So
let's put that
would it
quotation,
have been between Venom and that? Because Venom's like years away.
Oh, true. So I guess it would have been
this
between
thing
this
looks
and Venom.
finished.
Yeah.
Or like 80% done. Like, this is nuts.
From where they got it, it's around like 70 to 85% because most of it is reused assets from the first one and the second one. And
the second one's reused assets as well.
Yeah. And how do we know that? People revealed that the Gwen in that trailer was just a flipped asset of Miles's 2099 suit and Spider-Punk's jacket thrown on top of it.
Yep. I mean, you can see it, and like the thing with this is, if you look at how finished it looks and the fluidity and how there are differences in terms of style, combat, and what's going on, and clearly, like the game looks like it's lesser fidelity because obviously you're pushing multiplayer and everything, right? You gotta balance that out.
It's also a leak, right? It's not a proper release trailer. It's always going to look a bit weird.
If you watch that, something tells me that this was probably meant to release in tandem with the next Spider-Verse film, with Beyond the Spider-Verse, and when that shifted and pivoted hard, and they were looking at their units and what they could do, they were just like, this is gonna not push through. But it doesn't make sense because remember a couple years ago, Sony said, hey, by the end of 2025, we're gonna have 10 games as a service, many based on popular IP. This tells me this was one of those set to release by 2025. So,
because but I think it was like 10. And after a lot of their first party studios finally understood that we're probably gonna have to become that a multiplayer studio game, and they didn't want to gamble on it because they didn't want to tank their their studio for it. So and like you can see with this, but in particular where people found out that I think it was basically Peter or Spider-Man and Peter and Venom, they had a lot more lines, but they didn't know where they ended up.
I mean,
it seems like this was most of it.
Remember how Tony Todd said they only used like 20 to 25% of his dialogue? And I'm like, wait, hold up. We now know there's a leaked Venom game, and this where Venom was prominent. It makes me think that he maybe got confused and he recorded lines for other projects. He just didn't really understand the size and scope of it.
Yeah.
Because clearly, if you look at this game, I mean, if you were to tell me that this was a free DLC, like add-on mode for multiplayer, like they did for Ghost of Tsushima, for example, I would believe you. I'd be like, oh yeah, free DLC. Yeah, this is it. Like, maybe they should release it as a free DLC. Like, honestly, maybe it looks pretty complete.
Maybe they may do it because with the leaks, they did show that there is, I think, like 2 or 3 DLC expansions that are coming, and one of them was Spider-Verse related. So they could do something with it.
So maybe that's all it is. It's actually just an expansion for the second game. It's not
maybe that's why they because they haven't commented about it yet, and they commented about the other leaks. So
they didn't comment it, but there's some other stuff that they did look into that apparently there was going to be a battle pass. There's going to be a free track version and a paid version. But for the battle pass, they are non-expiring, so you could complete them at your leisure.
A good kind of battle pass.
Yeah, and what was interesting to me is during the time of those leaks is that you'd have 5 different types of spider people that you could actually choose from. So there was different play styles that you could potentially have from what they showed, and unfortunately, if you do look for it, they're just placeholders, so they weren't really like that far along with the graphics.
It's just kind of like
at the end of the day, I'm fine with this not seeing the light of day. I don't think the world needed a even more reason to crash on Spider-Man games than already has.
No, they were going to do it anyway. So
exactly. So without it now, at least it spared us that. Like people can just moan about it for a day and then move on with their lives.
So why can't my obscure Spider-Man be a play style instead of Silk?
And like a part of me understands like why this was greenlit too. Like you think about how popular Spider-Man is, all the different
Yeah,
spider
yeah.
people, all the content they're making. Like imagine a couple years from now, we're getting Spider-Man 4 in the MCU or Spider-Man 5, and suddenly this game could sync it up, tie an event to it or something and align things up. Like I get it. And I get why they also would have fear against it being like, well, Avengers didn't work and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League doesn't work. It's like, yes, but those games, uh, and this is not an insult to the developers, but Insomniac is in many ways ahead of many of these superhero
Well,
developers, especially now.
this is the thing, right? It's not a case of if one developer's better than another, right? Like it's is the studio equipped to make a live service game? If Bungie has
Exactly.
taught anyone anything, which it doesn't look like they have,
Yeah.
somehow over the last like X amount of years since Destiny's come out, you need to be completely pivoted to a live
Mhm.
service game. You can't be making a single player game and then
No.
shift to a live service game. I know Bungie's
Yeah, 'cause
trying to kind of do that
because it's
now.
Yeah.
ongoing. Like you have to have like let's say 50 people working on it at all time, 24/7, making and
least.
managing. Like, yeah, it's a I mean, it's a constant cost, like it's not like you
Yeah.
produce and then it's out
No.
there.
Yeah, because like I think people or basic consumer forgets is that you can't just make content on a whim. You have to have
Right.
it planned out for the next year or two, or else you're going to end up like some of the other live service games like Multiverses, where they said that they're going to do this. They have like a season 1 and a season 2, then it dries up because they have nothing else because they can't work fast enough to make more content.
Exactly. Or like Anthem, you come out half baked and then you try and redo it, and the studio has no faith in it, so they just cancel it, and then Anthem's now just sitting there dusting.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, we had a base, but they said they weren't going to spend any more money, so never mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Sony was going to learn very quickly because obviously they wanted all their big exclusive studios to have a live service game. This is a horrendous idea. It's going to absolutely tank your entire ecosystem.
I mean, I feel like we go through this scenario with all these companies every couple years. Like, remember when the not the Game Pass or but what was it, like a DLC pass or something back in like the 20? It was like buy Dead Space, but you need this code to unlock this mode. Everybody jumped on it, and then it tanked the game so hard. It was like, well, we got to pivot back. It's like, how about just, I don't know, making a game?
In fact, that was the least of Dead Space 3's problems.
True.
The microtransactions to buy resources was the
yikes. When you actually didn't really need to buy them, because I still remember the OP weapon when you could potentially unlock, which is double rocket launchers, where you didn't have to be afraid of anything. Just light the whole place up.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. The game industry will keep learning. I will say, out of all the games as a service games I've ever seen, Spider-Man probably excites me the most, and I want it. But it's also because I'm a Spider-Man fanboy, so there's probably something there. So,
I think we'd be all better off. The franchise would be better off if this is a single player. And I said that we talked about it before. Take what Square Enix has done with Rebirth with the party and just make it single player. You can have that they're all following you around. If you swing around, they're swinging behind you. You can change your party on the fly at any
and then just
time.
And allow your friend, if they have a game, to jump into your world, but don't make it like the same thing. Like I think that could work. It's
Hey, listeners. Mitch says that, but when I told him about the spider cycle, he lost it.
Hey, what's the point?
It's
apparently like giving this Peter mechanical arms after he's busted as hell in the first game. Like, you don't need to do anything. He's already a god at the minute.
Yeah, for people who don't know,
he's half symbiote alien. Now, what's the point in a bike? He's already quick as damn hell. What's the bike gonna do? Slow him down.
I don't know. It's like for people who don't know, in the multiplayer game, they were messing around with giving the player a motorcycle or spider cycle that allowed you to web swing with it. So potentially, you could be driving on ceilings and walls and stuff.
I remember there was like an old 90s Superman cartoon for action figures, and the kid in the commercials like, and get Superman's car so he can get to where he needs to fast. I'm like, he's Superman.
Every single superhero toy had that, the spider car. And
yeah.
Oh, God.
the 90s, man. You could stick any hero in a car and on a motorcycle. It's like, yeah, this makes sense.
So we need merchandise. What can we do?
Superman
Does it
needs a
make sense or
Lambo.
not?
Hey,
I mean,
Clark,
everyone needs a
why is the
Lamborghini.
it's hey Clark, why is Superman's Lambo parked outside? What do you mean?
Oh.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let me just go to the bathroom, quickly disappear. The car disappears, then I come back going, oh, it's gone. Can't be me. Oh.
Oh.
See, when you get older, you realize how dumb these superhero things can get. You're just like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun times. Well, I suppose we're just going to get on to the next topic. So let's talk about